Hi, everyone. I'm Steve, back with Pastor Victor Brote. Thanks for being with us, Victor.
Hi, so glad.
All right, let's talk about the value of the dollar. And I'm going to explain the way I explain it. It seems pretty simple. My background is in finance, um, in business. I'm a business owner, and I've built some companies up pretty good. If you want to know more about me, you can go to stevemain.com and find out more about what I do. So I want to talk about um, inflation, the dollar. How does inflation come down? How does it go up? What causes it? What stops it? And all that. So there's a lot of subtle little things, and a lot of people think something's so good, and oh, I got money. No, free money is not money. And I'll explain what it is, and I'll explain what real money is after I give you your first turn.
You're going to put it all on me right now. That's good.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of ways to explain this and a lot of
Yeah.
different angles. You and I talk about this stuff all the time, but we
I
just thought
was.
we'd let everyone hear it.
I don't want to sound like an old timer, but I guess I am. Uh, I remember when we went to the gas station, and gas was 25 cents a gallon. 25 cents. So for $5 or so, you could pretty much fill up a partial tank or whatever, and that's all you needed. Uh, Quarters would get you all around town for a while. Uh, and what I see has happened is so important to understand is that the value of your money has gone down and down because of inflation. Uh, they've even changed, the government's changed the numbers. So we look at inflation differently now. So the old inflation figures don't include, or the new ones don't include the cost of gasoline. So that doesn't really count, even though it's doubled just recently over the last few years. What it does, and I see this so importantly because I'm retirement age, is if I save $10,000, that $10,000 only a few years ago, if you got 10% inflation, which is kind of more like the real inflation that's going on, in only 7 years, that $10,000 is what $5,000 could have bought you back then. It's cut in half. Oh, I'm getting a $2,000 check. No, you're not. You are paying for that $2,000 check, and you're going to continue to pay at high rates to the government for that money. And that's one of the key things that just irks me, because so many retired people around me, I have older friends, and it's pitiful. They're left without, after saving all their life, they're left without kind of a foothold on things. It kills people. And that is one of the things with interest and inflation. People somehow just don't get it. Uh, People can't afford houses now, young people, because everything's gotten to such a level. Well, get a little extra on your paycheck from the government. That's not going to buy you a house. It doesn't work that way. Go ahead.
No, it doesn't. And I'm going to give you all an example of what I give to kids in grade school. And when I use this example with them, they get it. They get it because it's really simple and there's no getting around this. So, what I do with them is, all the kids are sitting out there in their chairs, their desks, and I have a chair and I show them the chair and I ask them, I say, "What is this?" They all say, "It's a chair." I say, "No, it's not. My mind, my brain thinks differently. This is not a chair." They go, "Well, what is it? What is it, Steve?" "It's labor." "What do you mean it's labor? What's labor?" "This chair is labor. And I learned this when I was in grade school. If I wanted a bike, I had to mow so many lawns to get that bike. Now, I can charge more. I knew that at the time the bike cost $30, expensive bike 50 years ago, right? More than 50 years ago. So I knew that I had to mow 10 lawns. So to me, the bike cost 10 lawn mows. I had to mow 10 lawns because I got $3 per lawn, and it took me about 2.5 hours to mow the lawn. Then I could go buy the bike. Now, if the bike goes up to $60, it still costs me 10 lawns because I still had to mow 10 lawns. But now, being a smart young entrepreneur that I was in 3rd grade, I had to charge $6 because I'm not going to mow 20 lawns for a bike. I'll mow 10. So how do I do that? Now, instead of charging $6 or $3, I'm charging $6. So now when I mow 10 lawns, I get $60. The bike costs $60. Did the bike really cost more? No, it didn't. The dollar was inflated from inflation. What it cost me was the labor. And so now I use this example with the kids. I say, okay, this is labor. They go, what do you mean? Well, it costs $10. There's another way to multiply labor. As a business owner, you want to multiply labor. So I take the chair costs $10. Okay. I sell the chair for $20. Now I take the $20 and I go buy 2 chairs for $10 because maybe I'm good at sales, and even more important, maybe I'm a good buyer. It's more important to be a good buyer. So now I have 2 chairs. Now all I did was massage the labor. Why is that chair labor? Somebody had to build the chair. Somebody had to put the chair together. It took labor to build that chair. So I may have went and mowed some lawns, bought it for $10, sold it for $15, mowed a few more lawns. Anyway, now I have 2 chairs. And I can do the same thing with those chairs over and over. So what am I doing? I'm kind of bartering, but I'm doing it with labor. People say, oh, the dollar has to be backed by this. The dollar has to be backed. The dollar is backed by one thing: labor, period. Sooner or later, somebody has to produce something. And so people get caught up in this whole inflation thing, saying, oh, it costs more. No, it doesn't. The dollar is less. You're earning less of them with the same amount of time. You're falling behind. So all of you out there, you young entrepreneurs, put questions in the comment section if you want me to answer your questions. You have to understand the purchasing power of your labor. If you're really good at what you do, you want to get a return, a fair return for your labor. And we talked about this in another video. If your labor is earning $70 an hour, you're going to have an employer that's going to pay you $35 an hour. Then they're going to pay all the other fees that are required to have you as an employee so that they make a little bit of profit. And if you don't like that, start your own business so that your labor is not harnessed. As a company owner, I harness people's labor. I'm earning money off of their labor. Now, I like to make them partners, and I like to find people that want to be part of this. And I like to find ways to help them not only harness their own labor, but to multiply it. So that's kind of a little barbaric explanation of what things really cost, because it's not a piece of paper. A little green piece of paper is nothing, but the tangible item is that you paid so many little pieces of green paper for that tangible item. The green piece of paper, it might cost 5, it might cost 10, but the tangible item has a value that is equal to someone's labor.
I'm going to add just a little bit, just to maybe explain or say it a different way. If you can get a chair for a lower price or produce that chair for a lower
Good
price,
buyer. If you're a good buyer, you can do that.
That's one thing, but there's a kind of like a ceiling. For example, even with mowing lawns, I want to charge you $50 to mow your lawn. The person with their lawn is going to say, no, I can get somebody else to do that for 10. Not going to go with you. And so you lose everything in a way because you're priced yourself out of the market. There's kind of like a ceiling to how much your labor can buy. You're not skilled, and therefore, because of that, not skilled for doing a mowing of the lawn, you're kept to kind of a maximum. When you're educated
right.
and you put things together, and I was listening to you, and I could see a lot of people say, "Oh, well, that's capitalism." What capitalism really is providing a benefit. For example, when I had a bunch of employees, I kind of figured that I should make about $1 an hour profit on the employees. Not a huge jump between their wages and my profit. But if I had a whole bunch of employees working for me, times $1 an hour, if it, 15, 20, 50, whatever, that would make some significant money. But I could not, for the products that I would give, I couldn't just double, triple, quadruple my income by just charging more. You can't charge. The capitalism brings blessing by harnessing the value of that labor and bringing it to people. Without that, the chairs just sit there in some warehouse. And if you go too high, your ego is going to keep you from benefiting. So there's all these factors that play that are so important. You go to Russia and you wait in line for almost everything because the government has set a price, because it doesn't really get a handle on what the labor and the value system is. And you go to China, same thing. They're having things collapse left and right. And you go all over the nation. You think that socialism might be good, but every place you look, under the rug, there's something happening and it's not good. It's because of this labor and value thing.
That's exactly right. And the last thing I'll say is there is a value. Every single person listening to this, there is a value to your labor. And what Victor is saying is you don't want to undervalue your labor, but you can't overvalue it either. Each of you has a skill, and a lot of you have the same skills. That's another video. That's we're talking about different advantages. Comparative. That's what's called a comparative advantage, which that's way too complicated. We're not going to get into that here. Not a competitive advantage, but a comparative advantage. So the value of my labor compared to the value of your labor and what's needed to put a product together. So you're absolutely right. I used a very barbaric example with a chair, and you can't just double the price. If your skill is the best, if you're the best lawnmower, somebody's going to pay me $60. They might only pay you $30. So it's the value of your labor, and you made a very good point with that, in that the value of the labor is what matters. So thanks for your input, Victor. We'll come back and we'll talk about, I have a good idea what we're going to talk about next. So I will see you next time. Thanks for being with us.
All right, great.